Okay, so we are still in week 3, and this is module 6. We are going to be covering chapter 4, consciousness, in this module. So again, this is a little bit out of order because remember we skipped chapter 4 and now we're coming back to it after having covered learning and memory. So here is the to-do list for the module. Let's go over the objectives a little bit. You're going to first be looking at what it means to be conscious. This is a very philosophical question. We have some different theories as to what that means. You're going to be taking a look at that, as well as the different levels of consciousness. This is a fun chapter, I think, because it involves sleep and it involves dreams, and those are typically things that anyone's interested in. This is much the stuff of pop psychology. But you guys are going to learn some handy stuff that's based in research. So, sometimes what you hear floating around out there in the world isn't necessarily always true, right? So once you take a look at consciousness, you'll be taking a deeper look into the biological processes involved in sleep. So a good deal of time spent in this chapter dissecting the stages of sleep. Particularly, why is REM sleep so important? What happens during that phase of our sleep cycle that makes it pretty much essential for human beings? What can come into play to disrupt our sleep? So we'll be looking at different sleep disorders. There's different theories that we're going to talk a little bit about as to why people dream, and different cultural takes on sleep. You'll see some interesting research there. We're going to actually dig a little deeper into that with a discussion post this week, so we'll come back to that one. But here's a good spot to be looking at if you want to integrate into your discussion post some of the chapter content. We're going to be looking also at hypnosis because it is sort of an altered state of consciousness. We'll be looking at how people achieve a state of hypnosis, who's more susceptible to it, does it work, and if it does, what do we use it for? And then a little kind of takeaway of hypnosis, which is meditation. Slightly different state of consciousness. But meditation is basically, in a nutshell, a relaxed state of consciousness. And many benefits can come from it: health benefits, memory benefits, stress reduction benefits. So we'll be taking a look at that. A little bit on drugs, because drugs can alter our state of consciousness. So we'll be looking at the psychological and physiological effects of some drugs. We won't be covering all, but the ones that are applicable here, such as stimulants, depressants, hallucinogens, and how they all affect our consciousness. And then looking at some supernatural aspects of consciousness, which I think will be fun. So again, this is a fun chapter. I find that students get really into the sleep part and the dream interpretation part, so try to have fun with it. Here are your lecture slides that go along with it. You're going to be watching all the videos in episode 6 of Consciousness. And here is the discussion. And I mentioned we're going to be talking about dream analysis a little bit here. Pretty much the Hawk reading has to do with what are the purposes of our dreams. There's been a lot of debate on whether or not dreams are even useful, why we have them, what they mean. Are our dreams representations of our wishes and our desires that we don't act on during the day when we're awake? Or are dreams simply just neural firings of our brain, releasing, sort of that physiological energy at night, and it's doing so based on things we've experienced, seen, heard, things that have appealed to our senses and such. So that's pretty much kind of like the debate presented in the reading. So you're going to be sort of taking a side, okay? So you're going to be looking at all the research, on consciousness and the meaning of dreams. Like, should we try to interpret them, as Freud said? Do they have underlying meaning that manifests in our behavior in different ways? Or is it just, neural energy being expended and doing so based on our stored up memories? So I want you guys really integrating in the readings. You have lots of opportunity to do that with this discussion. Remember to always be citing as you're pulling from whatever textbooks, whether it's the Hawk book or the Cicerellian White book. You need to cite where your information is coming from. Preferably, do not direct quote. Okay, it's kind of like a no-no in academic writing to just pull in direct quotes because it's not showing that you've interpreted the material. It's just showing that you've taken what someone else said and you've pretty much just cut and pasted it right in. I'd much rather see how you've synthesized the information in your own understanding, and then you can cite kind of where it came from, where the idea came from. And that would be the more proper way of citing. Okay, so just as a reminder, I put the cite as you write instructions here in case you need them. You want to refer back to how do I cite as I'm pulling stuff into my discussion post. You should be referencing this document right here if you haven't yet already committed that to memory. Here is your quiz for the module, and then the test that rounds out the week. So the test is covering chapters 4 and 6, so consciousness and memory. And that completes week 3. That completes module 6. Please let me know as you're working away this week. If you have any questions, feel free to email me and I will get back to you. Thanks everyone, and have a great week.